Welcome back to page 121. Today we're going to take a look at something kind of in support of the new release Mongoose has coming later this month on Mercenaries. It's a Kickstarter they funded a while ago. It's the ebook is supposed to come out before the end of February. So I thought I'd take a look at the history of Mercenary as a class, as a character, to be in Traveller. Here's the very first book, Mercenary. The fourth book, 1978. Star Mercs from GURPS Traveller. This is a really good book from 1999. And then, of course, book 1, Mercenary, from Mongoose First Edition. This is from 2010. We're just going to take a quick look at all three books and what they brought to the table back when they were out and what they bring to the table now and why I'm excited about the new edition of Mercenary coming out in the next couple of weeks. So that's it. That's what we'll be looking at today on page 121. Traveller Book 4, Mercenary. This was out in 1978, a year after the original Traveller was released in 1977, and that's why it's Book 4. I generally keep this book in with my books 1, 2, and 3, along with Highguard, Book 5. So here we get a little look at the back and what this is going to show you. Basically, it's going to show you the Mercenary. It's aimed at the military-oriented traveler adventure and what a mercenary character is, and then it talks about Book 5, Highguard, is going to concentrate on the ships of the interstellar navies. So this book, this is before I was playing Traveller, but this is one of the main books that I latched onto when I first started playing Traveller. I started Traveller in 1981, and this book has a lot of goodness in it. There's a lot of nice stuff. The game design is by Frank Chadwick, and it's just pretty nice. It shows you how to play a mercenary character in Traveller, which is a pretty common theme for a lot of Traveller campaigns. I've run a few where the characters were mercenaries with a mercenary unit after their service with the Imperium. This book deals with the Marines and the Army only. You have to go to Highguard to get any of the other classes. But because this was 1978, of course, it was one of the first ones to teach us anything. It is a little antiquated by today's standards. Don't get me wrong, I still love it, and it's great for inspiration, but there's not a lot of mechanic in here that I would necessarily follow anymore. You get some pretty neat stuff for special assignments that you can end up in, specialist schools, that kind of thing. And then, of course, the character creation statistics and the mustering out tables, all the stuff we all love from the original Traveller books. Still do, actually. And then we get some general descriptions of stuff that hadn't appeared in the game yet. Battle dress, combat engineering, demolitions, forward observer, gunnery skill. This was all new in this book. And I always thought that they intended this book to introduce this stuff as opposed to the core 3 books. This talks about a Traveller mercenary ticket. A ticket is basically your contract, what you're going to do, who you're going to do it for. Mercenaries can be hired by a planet, can be hired by a corporation, can be hired by a wealthy individual. It really depends on how you're running your campaign. This is another great way to do a mega corporation tie-in, is have them hire the player characters as mercenaries for some specific purpose. Maybe to guard a research facility, or maybe to find someone who's missing, maybe to find some missing information. There's a lot of stuff mercenary groups can do. And here we go, the recruiting that you would go through. And again, this book from 1978 is one of the ones that kind of led us into this. So it's a little old, which is a shame, but it's great that gaming has continued to evolve in the 40 plus years since this was published. And then we come Ironmongery. This was a big deal in this book because it gave us description a lot of the weaponry that was first introduced in this book. The plasma gun, man-portable 12, PGMP 13, advanced combat rifle, Gauss rifle. A lot of this came from this book. These are all omnipresent in Traveller now, but back when this book was printed, this was all new stuff. As I say, I was not playing Traveller. I wasn't playing any role-playing in 1978. But when I did get into Traveller in 81, this was actually one of the first books I bought after the original 3 books, and I spent a lot of time with this particular book. So we go to field artillery, which is something, again, hadn't been really touched in Traveler. And then, of course, the various weapons. So, and then the end of the book. 52 pages for your hard-earned $6. Not bad. I bought it off the shelf in 1978. Or, I'm sorry, 1981. It was published in 78. I bought it in 81. One of the very first acquisitions I had of the Little Black books after the basic set, after my buddy introduced me to Traveler. So there's a look at that book. Now we're going to take a look at Star Mercs from GURPS Traveler from 1999. GURPS Traveler Star Mercs, Military and Mercenary Campaigning. This was written by Martin J. Dougherty and Neil A. Fryer. Martin J. Dougherty writes a really good book. He still writes for Traveler. I see his name on something. It's a quick buy for me. So here we have Military and Mercenary Campaigning under the GURPS system. One of the things I continue to love about GURPS, I loved when they came out, and I still love, is that this stuff is not just locked into the GURPS system. I would say about 75% of this book is written is system agnostic. You could just sit down and read this stuff and apply it to any version of Traveler you're playing. There's only some sections that are GURPS specific, which is one of the things I've always liked about GURPS. So here we go into combat in the 57th century, the nature of warfare, the various resources you might need to play this, and then the types of combat, urban conflict, things like that. This book feels in spirit a lot like some of the Battletech books that were out at the time. Being a mercenary in Battletech is very common, and there's been a lot of books released on Battletech mercenaries, and this book has that same kind of flavor. So, just going through some of the different tickets you can get. Deep Space Mercenaries. I want to get to one particular section. Combat Drop. This is a little sidebar story. Surrender. Combat Drop is a sidebar story that runs for couple of pages. It's just a little fiction to give you some flavor. Love the Traveler artwork. I always liked this guy. GURPS, I think, continued the fine tradition of good Traveler artwork. We continue on. Military Commandos, the Imperial Rules of War, what you can and can't do as a mercenary. Don't use weapons of mass destruction, boys and girls. That will get you on trial very quickly. And then how to run a mercenary campaign. And some of the Volani military traditions. So there's some really good stuff in here for just deep Traveler. I've always loved that about the GURPS books. I'm not going to go through each and every page of this guy. I did want to show this particularly long bit of fiction in the sidebars. This goes for several pages. I like that in a book. It gives a nice flavor for the book overall. And plus, Traveler fiction is always fun. That guy's got a bat'leth. I never even noticed it. Coming over to some of the other stuff. I love that Kukri. That's just cool. We get into weapon systems by tech level. What you'll be dealing with when you're on the planet. Ironmongery, again, continued from the book from 1978. We get to see all the actual combat gear. This is one of the chapters that actually has to do with the GURPS rules. So if you are adapting any of this, you would have to do some adaptation from GURPS to whatever rule set you're playing. Again, you can still read, get plenty of stuff out of this. You just don't need these charts if you're not playing GURPS. Oh, my original receipt from January 23rd, 1999. That's pretty cool. Starships and Spaceships for Mercenaries. You get a great look at the Broadsword class, an old favorite of Traveler, the Broadsword class Mercenary Cruiser. I love this ship. I always have. And then we get an Assault Rider, an Assault Tender. And again, these are all in GURPS rules, so you will have to do some interpretation. But some of the descriptions are still very translatable. Here we go with some of the grav tanks. A heavy grav tank. And then we go to character templates. Again, this is all GURPS, so you would need to do a lot of interpretation for this kind of stuff. GURPS was not something I played very long. I tried it. It's not really for me. Not knocking the system, it just wasn't my cup of tea. So now we come to another section of the book. It's sample tickets. And this book is system agnostic. You can pretty much apply everything here to any version of Traveler that's out there. I like this. You can have a commando ticket. You can have a striker ticket, commando, striker ticket suppression, a security ticket. All these are great adventure hooks. I love that GURPS continued the TAS form, Travelers Aid Society form number 18, a repatriation bond. They'll pay to have you back if you're captured. I enjoy this stuff. I have always loved what GURPS Traveler brought back to the table. They kind of went back to the Traveler I loved. And I still continue to read these books when I'm preparing my Traveler campaigns. So there we have it. And then we go into some actual characters, character examples, and then we're out. So now we're going to take a look at the third book that I want to feature today, which is the Mongoose Traveler First Edition, which is the one that was published in 2010 and is released as the last version of Mercenary we have until the one comes out later this month. All right, Book 1, Mercenary, Las Guns for Hire. I like that Mongoose Traveler First Edition continued the Little Black Book look. On the other hand, by the time I'd gotten several of these, I thought it was maybe time for them to put some art cover on instead of just the black book. But I get why they did it. This book I happened to pick up for $2 at a closeout at a hobby store not too far from my house. And I bought it for the $2. At the time, I was in my thinking of, well, I have Traveler. Why do I need these newer books? I can play with everything I've got. I don't need them. I bought the original rules for Mongoose Traveler First Edition, and then I happened across several of these on discounts and grabbed them up. And I'm really glad I did. These have done a lot to upgrade and modernize the game, just as I'm sure the new one coming out will do. This one is very similar in flavor to the GURPS one. And honestly, it's a great cross between the GURPS Mercenary, the Star Mercs, and the original Mercenary from 1978. It just has a nice flavor to it. I like that artwork, the signing the Mercenary contract, the Army and Marine characters. Here's some new Army mishaps. All kinds of new rules in here for First Edition. So pretty exciting at the time. Some Air Force characters for you. This just was really good. Again, I'm not going to go through each and every page of this, but it was a neat thing to give you a different brand of adventure for your travelers. Here you could be in the Wet Navy, and then how do you create a mercenary? So you can be in a cadre, you could be a commando, all kinds of good stuff. You can be a guerrilla. Security, very common to have mercenaries as security in Traveler. If the Megacorp has a facility that needs to be locked down, that's a great adventure hook to have your mercenary group go in and be the ones in charge of security. A striker team, also a great Traveler hook if you're more combat oriented. Warmonger, these guys just go from war to war making their money. So again, I enjoyed this. There's new special skills and specialties, and this again because of because of Mongoose Traveler, it carries into just about any edition of Traveler with very little need for you to change things. And if you do have to change it, it's very simple. So I'm not going to go through each and every page of this book either. Otherwise, this video would be about an hour long. So then we get into mercenary tickets. Those are your contracts, how you're going to make your money. And it goes a lot into costs and how you make money as a mercenary. Again, this feels more like you get in a Battletech book talking about being mercenaries, but it's still very appropriate for Traveler. You want your travelers to have to worry about paying the bills, and this is one of the ways to do it. So flipping through here, how you recruit people to your mercenary company, how big you want your company to be, and some new combat rules. Now, granted, this is from 2010, but still pretty neat. And I'm pretty excited because I have a feeling this is going to be a good example of what we're looking at when we get the mercenary one later this month from Mongoose. I'm excited about reading that one. And then we have large-scale combat rules, which has always been part of Traveler. It's always been a little more abstract, but it's always been part of Traveler. So staying with the new combat rules, going to jump ahead a little bit to headquarters and military bases. This is very useful for you to find out, if you're laying out your military base, if they're going to be working as security on a base or something like that. This chapter is really good for it. Breaks it down by tech level. And then we come to new equipment. So some new armor, ballistic vest, plate armor. Plate armor is tech level 2, which is just awesome. Man portable mount. That's cool. And then some augments. New communications gear, new sensors. This book has a lot to bring to the table. Again, I'm really excited at the prospect of the new Mercenary book. Obviously, I made this video. So, there you have it. I just wanted to take a quick look at what's gone before in Traveler, as far as Mercenaries were concerned. And maybe a little preview of what could be coming out. I don't work for Mongoose. I've said that many times before. I just like their products. I am a convert in the belief that the new stuff can definitely be useful and work with the older stuff. And I am excited about Mercenaries coming out. So that's all I have to say today on page 121. Thank you for your time. I hope you liked what you heard and saw. If you did, please like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time.